Good morning. Good morning. This is another week in the state legislature. This is Senator Karla May from the 4th Senatorial District, just coming to you to talk about some things that has transpired this week before we are heading for spring break. So let me talk about something that was on the radar last week that I don't think I mentioned in our last podcast. We talked about and debated Senate Bill 10. And what this legislation does, it changes our state's minimum wage law. This bill will allow an employer to pay any employee who is a minor 85% of the minimum wage. You know, I don't like this legislation. I believe Missourians work hard for wages they earn. And after the recent voter-approved minimum wage increase, we should not be attempting to lower wages right now in our state. I believe everyone should be paid a fair wage, regardless of their age. I don't think employees should be lowering their costs by hiring people under the age of 18 and trying to pay them less simply because of their age. What I think is we should be empowering our young people to become financially responsible, and that begins with paying them a meaningful wage or a livable wage. That's how I think. So this bill was heard and debated on the floor for several hours last week, but it was laid over. So, I want you to stay tuned because we're going to continue to talk about Senate Bill 10, and we need to weigh in on it. We did a statutory change last November in 2018 that increases the minimum wage over a phased-in period. What we probably should have done was a constitutional change because it makes it harder for the legislature to change things. So we need to fight. We need to write the whole General Assembly to let them know that we want a wage that is comparable to the cost of living. Trust me, that's what we want. Another piece of legislation, I filed a bill, which is Senate Bill 74. It's going to be combined with another bill, so it will become Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 8 and Senate Bill 74. So this is an attempt to eliminate mandatory minimums on certain types of crimes. I wish I can do all of them, but we have to do some piecemealing on this type of thing because some crimes should have a mandatory minimum. So what this proposal is going to do is going to allow sentencing court to depart from minimum prison terms if the court makes certain findings. A portion of the proposal could also reduce incarceration costs that result in DOC receiving sentences and judgments wherein the court did not follow the statutory provisions. So what we're trying to do is we pick crimes, and you can read the bill. It's Senate Bill 74, and we're going to eliminate minimum prison terms on some of those crimes. So take a look at that bill. We did talk about that. Another bill I would like you to take a look at is also Senate Bill 77. This bill came up in senior families and children. This is another attack on Medicaid. I don't even have to go into it. This is another attack in trying to include work requirements into the Medicaid statute and reduce Medicaid instead of expanding Medicaid. So take a look at that bill. That's Senate Bill 77. And let me just do this. We're going to take a slight break from the happenings in the legislature. And let's talk about this. The Gateway Hemophilia Association will be hosting a Unite for Bleeding Disorders walk. It's a 5K walk to raise funds for programs and services helping those with hemophilia. So the von Willebrand disease and other rare bleeding disorders. The event will take place on May 4th at Forest Park Cricket Field in St. Louis. Registration for the event will start at 8:30 a.m. and the walk will begin at 9:30 a.m. If you want some additional information in regards to this event, go to www.gatewayhemophilia.org. I'm going to say that again. It's www.gatewayhemophilia, which is HEMOPHILIA.org. So if you want to participate in that march, I encourage you to participate in that march. I'm going to participate as well. Now, we just had an election on March the 5th. The primary municipal elections were held. This is not the last election to determine the leadership of the city. The general election will be held on April 2nd. So we're all encouraging everybody to come out for the general election as well. And we got to gear up for 2020. So for right now, this is State Senator Karla May. Stay tuned for next week's podcast.